So I'm here in London with Nicky Gumbel. Nicky, it's wonderful to see you again.
Great to see you again, Graham.
Thank you so much for your time. It's great to be back here. Great to be with you, and just be good to catch up on a few things that are happening in your world and here at HTB. And we're just delighted that this conversation can be part of our leadership conference this year. Obviously, many of our churches have been using Alpha for a number of years and still excited to do so. How do you see Alpha developing?
Well, Terry Virgo was one of the early adopters, pioneers. Yeah, so grateful to our friendship with Newfrontiers over many years. But yeah, I mean, Alpha. Yeah, we've just watched in amazement what's happening. So I'm in September, 1st of September. Archie Coates is going to take on the role of Vicar of HTB, and I'm really, one of the reasons is that I would really love to go back to focusing on Alpha, which I did for the years before I was vicar, but I haven't really been able to travel in the way that, because I want to be here on Sunday. So we're going to be doing a new film series. We're in a process now. It's already 2 years into the process, but filming next year. And then, yes, just travelling a bit more to the church plants. There are 127 church plants now, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and lots of them I haven't seen, city centre church plants around the country that I would love to go and visit and see what they're doing. Yeah.
And do you still find that it's people inviting friends and people they know? Is it a personal relationship still that
So
wins?
4 of the people in our group came with a friend. So that doesn't always happen, but sometimes the friend won't come unless the person who invited them's there with them. And 4 of them in our group were like that this time. So we had 4. And then on week 1, the second week, someone came who did Alpha here probably 30 years ago. He's a surveyor, and he was surveying a house, and the woman wrote to him and said, look, I'm really struggling to pay your bill because I've just been through a divorce and I've lost my job, and I can only pay you half. He just said, come to Alpha. And it was that night. So literally that afternoon, he said, come to Alpha. And she came. Wow. And so she can't make tonight, but I think she's coming back next week. She said that she's traveling this week, but hopefully she'll be back next week. So I just love these people are from, they have the fact that she was just invited like hours beforehand and comes, and the others were, they're always people who've done Alpha. That's why you have to do it like all the time. It's no good running one a year or one and then do it in 3 years' time. It's the fact it's always running. It means that somebody who's done Alpha 30 years ago or 2 years ago or on the last course can bring their friend. And they come and then they bring their friend. But maybe they won't necessarily bring their friend on the next course. They might bring a friend in 30 years' time. But it's the consistency that you build, that sort of confidence that there will be a course running to which you can invite your friend.
So you talked about Archie taking over, Archie Coates taking over, 1st of September, obviously.
Yes.
That date is circled on your calendar by the sounds of it.
Yes, I finished on the 31st of August, and he starts on the... So normally in the church thing you have an interregnum. It's normally about a year, but ours is going to be 18 and a half hours.
Okay, that's not so bad. Not so bad. So
it's hard to leave a church with no one running it. I mean, it's like, how can you do that? You wouldn't in the business world have no CEO for a year or whatever.
No. So how long have you been vicar here?
So I've been vicar for it would have been vicar for 17 years. And before that, I was the curate, like the assistant pastor for 19 years.
Sandy Miller?
Sandy Miller, who I still meet with almost every week.
Wow.
On Zoom, we have a prayer meeting on Monday. We've been having a prayer meeting to pray about succession over the last few months. And he's been such a help and such a wise advisor. One of the surveys in the United medical research coming out of the US is the most productive decade of your life is between 60 and 70. The second most productive is between 70 and 80. And the third most productive is between 50 and 60. Okay. So hope for all of you.
Yes. Hope for us all yet.
Yeah. So, but Sandy's wisdom, I mean, he's in his 80s now, and it's just so invaluable. I just can't, so grateful to him. And I know so many people at Newfrontiers are hugely grateful to Terry for his amazing wisdom that he brings to everyone.
I mean, I guess for many of our leaders around our churches, they're in times of transition and raising up new generation of leaders, handing over responsibility, sometimes handing over churches and so on. I'm interested in this whole subject of transition and succession at the moment. What are you learning about that as you go through this period and thinking about handing over to Archie Coates in September?
Well, I've been thinking about it probably for 17 years since I started. Succession for me is not a sort of one-off thing. It started 17 years ago, and if the Lord spares me, it will continue for at least another 10 years. So the reason it's been happening for 17 years is church planting. For us, church planting, because we plant. So if we plant in Brighton, where Archie went, Archie is completely independent. He is, so in a sense, succession has happened. And we've done that in 20 city centres around the country. And they are all planting their churches. And they are, so in a sense, all of those that is succession. And then here, now we're in this process which will be complete on the 1st of September. And from the 1st of September, I will be working for Archie for everything. I am completely under Archie. He holds the ring on everything. Right. So Alpha's going over to Archie, church planting, the theological college, and I will do whatever he asks me to do. But what he has said to me is, please don't throw everything at me at once. So he said, could I please carry on running Alpha? So I'm going to continue to chair Alpha, but under him. So I'll chair Alpha, and that's why we've got this 2033 vision, which is, as you know, the 2000th anniversary of the resurrection, the 17th of April 2033. So to play our part in that is to try and make Alpha available to everyone on the planet by then. So that's the next 10 years. So that's the film series and the travelling, etc. And then also he's asked me to continue with church planting. So the church plants, Alpha UK, the two new streams we've got, the Peter stream, which is for people trapped underground by racism, elitism and intellectualism. There's just so much talent in this country that's trapped. And then the Caleb stream is for people trapped by ageism. So that's recruiting these amazing people who are so talented. But there are 10 million people in the UK aged between 58 and 72. So that it's just a huge demographic of people that can be mobilised to, in the terms of the Church of England, to be leaders of churches. And there are a lot of churches that need leaders.
So in terms of the broader church in the UK, and perhaps thinking about our part of Newfrontiers with ChristCentral, what would your hope be for, say, some of our churches or indeed other denominations as well? How can we play our part in the revitalisation of the church in the UK, the evangelisation of the nation? What are some of the key things that we should do?
You are. I think as everyone I'm sure knows, I love Newfrontiers and had so many happy memories of times with Terry, Brighton Conference.
Indeed, yeah.
So many happy memories, and what you're doing is amazing. And that article I showed you this morning from the Times shows that whereas nearly all churches in the UK are declining, including the Church of England at the moment, but it's about to change. There are three that are the Times points out that are actually growing. And one of those is Newfrontiers. So this article suggests that looking at it like COVID, that if your R rate is below 1, you're in decline. If your R rate is above 1, you're growing. Yes. And Newfrontiers is one of the three that are above 1, and it's growing, and that's so fantastic. So what you're doing is amazing, and and as you know, we've got lots of friends who are running Newfrontiers churches, and a huge admiration for all of them. And I've been to I visited Newfrontiers churches and always love it and feel inspired. There's such a positive attitude always. And I think that's one of the reasons that you grow so much. There's always that can-do mentality. The first to say we wanted to care for people coming out of prisons. First to get involved in the prisons ministry was Newfrontiers. You're always right up there, leading the way.
We'll try and continue to play our part.
No,
I'm sure
you definitely are. Oh my goodness.
There's much to do.
No, I have huge admiration.
Thank you.
And inspired by what you do.
Well, likewise in terms of what's all happening here and in the church and out of your own ministry as well.
Well, I think in the last few years, what we've all learned is we can't do it on our own, but we can do it together, and that's what's exciting. And we have this little gathering. And a lot of Newfrontiers people come. Just the idea that we together, all the different parts of the church. There was a time when the Catholics thought they could do it on their own. The Church of England thought we could do it on our own. Some of the new churches thought they could do it on their own. I think now everyone's saying, okay, we can't do it on our own, but what amazing things are happening in different parts of the church. What can we learn from each other? How can we work together to see this nation re-evangelized? And I do believe that's possible. I think we're going to see it. And I think that the R rate is going to change. Look how it changed with COVID. Yes. The R rate one moment was 0.9, the next moment it was 1.3. And it's not that big a shift from 0.9 to 1.3. And if it's 1.3, we saw how COVID just went viral. And so we just need to shift a tiny bit and we could see the gospel going viral across the country.
So what's your dream for the church in the UK for the next 10, 20 years?
I think we're at a turning point. So many. This article in the Times, which is predicting that the Church of England will go into extinction in this year and the Catholic Church will go into extinction this year, is assuming a straight line, and that's the fallacy behind the article. Because if you look at church history, it's not a straight line. 1750 was an absolute low point. There were 6 people at communion in St Paul's Cathedral on Easter Day. The church had pretty well died out. And then you had Wesley, Whitfield, Shaftesbury, Wilberforce, Raikes, the Sunday school movement. By 1910, 5.5 million children in the Sunday schools. Since 1910, it's going down again. But I think there are lots of signs that there's a beginning of a turn. And then it could be, another 100 years of growth if the Lord doesn't return before then. But it could also happen very quickly because this is the greatest evangelistic opportunity of our lifetimes and the greatest evangelistic opportunity for 500 years because the last great opportunity was the printing press. Gutenberg, printing press. Suddenly the Bible could be in your home. You could read your Bible yourself. You could have it in every language around the world. And that's a process that's been going on. Not complete yet, but God willing, it will be complete by 2033. But now, this is terrible because it's very addictive. Terrible things go out on it. Social media is destroying many people's lives. Pornographic industry is expanding on it. It does terrible things. But so are books terrible. There are some terrible books that have been written. But it's also an opportunity for the gospel. Luther, 100 years later, Luther was rolling off, I think, 10,000 copies of the New Testament every 2 weeks. With this, we either say, "Oh, it's terrible," the devil has infiltrated our world, or we say, "This is the opportunity for the church, and let's get the gospel out on this to everyone on the planet by 2033. So I think this is the greatest opportunity of our lifetimes. We've got to work out, the church has got to work out, be entrepreneurial. How can we get the gospel to everyone on the planet? Jesus said, go and make disciples of all nations nearly 2,000 years ago. So we got 10 more years. Let's finish it.
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
Oh, wonderful. Final question. Obviously, this is for us a leadership conference. We've got all sorts of people there, be it those who are already in leadership positions and those who are aspiring to such. What perhaps one thing would you say to aspiring and emerging leaders who, have got, perhaps decades of ministry ahead of them? What's the one thing?
I would say no one should want to be a leader. Being a leader is a cost, the price you pay for doing something. Leadership is like fame. No one should want to be famous. Things nowadays, people say, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be famous. Why do you want to be famous? Fame is an absolute albatross around your neck. If you're really famous, I've met one or two famous people, and it's a nightmare. I met one guy, he couldn't leave his hotel room it was in the film industry, he couldn't leave his hotel all weekend because the paparazzi were outside. He was locked, he was in prison. Fame is an absolute, real fame is an absolute, it's a horrible thing. But you may have to pay that price in order to do something. If you say, I want to change our nation, I can see I'm going to go into politics, I want to be Prime Minister in order to change the nation. You may have to pay the price of fame and have bodyguards around you for the rest of your life and not be able to do, but no one should want to be famous and no one should want to be a leader, because being a leader is an absolute pain. The higher you climb, the more people, the more you put your head above the parapet, the more people will shoot at you, the more worries you'll have, the more responsibilities, the more angst. All I want to do is be with my wife, my children, my 9 grandchildren. I want a peaceful life. I don't want people firing at me all over the place. But if you want to do something, you probably will end up having to lead. If you want to see the name of Jesus honoured in this country, if you want to see people coming to faith, if you want to see the church revitalised, you'll end up having to lead something, having to lead a church. And that's the price. But don't focus on leadership, focus on doing the thing. It's doing whatever it is that is required. Pastoring Jesus wasn't like, my ambition is to be a leader. No, my ambition is to go to the cross and die for the world and bring salvation. It wasn't to be a leader. But in order to do that, he had to lead. He had to get a team around him. And then he had to equip them, train them, send them out. He's the greatest leader of all time. But that wasn't what he came to do. Jesus didn't say, I have come that I might be a leader. I said, I have come to give my life a ransom for many. So have an aim, what you want, what you feel the Lord is calling you to do. And if that involves paying the price of being a leader, then that's the cost that goes with it. But that should never be the ambition. It should be the opposite. Yes. Follow Jesus is the ambition and do what he asks you to do.
We're very grateful for your leadership here at HTB and for Alpha and Leadership Conference and so many other ministries that have come out of this wonderful church and what God has been doing in you and Pippa. And so we pray for you guys for the next season.
Thank you,
look
so
forward
much.
to cheering you on and all that God has for you in this next while. So
it's great to be with you, and much love to all of you at Newfrontiers. I always love being with you. I wish I was with you in person because I know I would be totally inspired by all of you and what you're doing. God bless.